What is going on, family, masters, and princesses? I hope everyone is doing well today. I'm gonna admit I'm nursing a little bit of a headache today. I was gonna record another Band-Maid song reaction, but like I said, I kind of been nursing a little bit of a headache, so I didn't really feel like my overall self, and didn't want to give you guys a bad reaction in terms of music. But I thought that in checking out still a documentary would still be okay, and I knew that we needed to get into another one. So let's go ahead and check it out.
じゃあ次はベースミサにしま
ミ
しょう。
サちゃん。
ミサちゃんは1回目で言ってびっくりされるのはステージドリンクがウイスキーストレート。
本当にあの人酔っ払うんです。
ねえ、もう本当に2時間とかはまあ長いとやったりしますが、
すると結構後半はもう、フラフラというか
もう
ベロベロというか
ベロベロですもんね。出来上がりつつある感じですもんね。
あるかなって感じ。
まあでもよりね、なんだろう、グルービーなベースを
そうベースの演奏が良くなるから
緊張
Some people swear by that, yo. Some people swear by the idea of like, when they get drunker, they're looser and it allows them to kind of like feel the music that much more. So I've heard a few artists kind of talk about like stuff like that. And it definitely explores my more creative side the more that I probably have been drinking and playing with my little instruments and whatnot. So I could totally get it. It's kind of funny how it's only like one of them. Like, out of the whole group, like, she's the one who drinks on stage. Like I know like some bands go through like phases where like they'll drink on stage and stuff, but I think it really just kind of depends on like the time and place, but it doesn't seem like any of them have kind of probably really ever been like that. But, just from what I've seen in the concert, it doesn't look like that. So the fact that one of them does drink and drinks whiskey is pretty wild. So that's pretty awesome.
しいだったりちょっとするところがあるので、
ピュアだから
ピュアだからとてもバンドメイドで一番純粋な心を
そう
持ってるの。
見た目はねクールビューティーな、
クールビューティー
アジアンビューティー
アジアンビューティー
な感じなんだけど
海外からのね人気はすごいですもんね、
一番ですね、
ミサミサってすごいコールが起きるぐらい、
だって怖い印象を受けるもんね、最初は
あんまりこう喋らないからね、
そう怖い人だと思ってましたっていうコメントよく見る、
ね、でも小学生みたいなねことですごいくだらないことでミサちゃん一番笑うし
変顔もすごいする、
もう一番そういうの大好きだもんね。だから怖いとは一番真逆にいる、
一番面白い人かもしれない。
そうだっぽね、バンドメイドの一番面白い人だっぽね、きっと。
With an introduction like that, I think we can figure out who's going to be highlighted in today's video. So today, let's talk about Misa. Misa was born on October 15th in Okayama, a prefecture close to Osaka, and next to Hyogo, where Akane was born. According to her mother, she was an easy child to raise as she used to play by herself. Even though she was a lively child, she always avoided dangerous situations and tried to act like an adult. She loved music and arts in general, but hated studying. And just like Kanami and Akane, music has been a part of Misa's life since her early childhood, as she started to learn piano when she was around 4. In elementary school, she joined a brass band and played alto horn. Right?
Again, another random instrument from the Band-Maid group. Like, they're all playing the most random instruments. Many of them with the piano and all that, but like again, just playing random instruments that eventually led them to like, the instruments they belonged with.
Right when she entered junior high school, Misa moved to Tokyo due to family circumstances, and her temper changed a lot. She had a hard time fitting in with life in the big city and getting along with her peers from the same grade. She was also afraid to be judged because of her accent, which was different from the other children.
My, how funny it is that despite, how different they look from us, and despite how their language sounds different from us, that they go through the same things that we go through in other countries, not just here in America, but everywhere. that the people who are not from the city, when they move to the city, they have a hard time fitting in with the city kids because the city culture is different. Would you look at that? Like, again, just how we just taking a moment to recognize the fact that we tend to be so divided as people about so many different things, even though we are so similar in nature. It's almost scary that, like I said, they look nothing like me, they sound nothing like me, and they have had very similar experiences that me and all the people that I knew and grew up with had. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally the same thing that I could point to a million people who have had those very same situations, but other side of the planet, same thing's happening.
And became more and more introverted. In 7th grade, she started to play guitar, but ended up joining a concert band in 9th grade, where she played the trumpet. Even though she did learn a lot of different instruments, she kept learning piano for a few years. In high school, she played as a guitarist vocalist in a Keon club with a Fender Squier model that she bought. One day, an older friend of Misa asked her if she could join his band as a bassist. Until then, she'd never thought about playing bass. She started to play guitar and always wanted to play drums, but bass? It had never crossed her mind. Misa borrowed a bass and started to play, and even though it was difficult, she loved it and bought a Squier P bass immediately so she could give back the bass she borrowed. And one of the main reasons Misa got introduced to music at such an early age was that her mother listened to music all the time. This is how Misa got to hear bands like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and The Who when she was still only in kindergarten. Her mother was also very supportive and helped Misa choose the right school when she hesitated between university and professional college. Misa started a course on sound engineering in a professional college before changing to a bass course, as she didn't want to work behind a stage, but on stage as a professional bassist. Before talking about Band-Maid, let's take a look at Misa's past experience in the music industry. Except for small bands during her school years, Misa had been a member of a band named Prototype for 5.5 years between 2008 and 2013. Prototype was a small band composed of 4 members, and the band made at least 2 mini-albums and performed several live concerts. We don't have that much information, but it seems that they sold their CDs directly and not via music stores. They used to perform in and around Shimokitazawa, which is where Misa lived, and Shibuya. There is a review of one of their live performances which states that they sound like the Smashing Pumpkins and are appealing to everyone who loves Western music. The person who wrote this review also said that they couldn't stop smiling. It sounds like this band must have played some great music.
They're probably better than the Smashing Pumpkins, because if I'm gonna be honest with you, not really a huge fan of them. Not really a huge fan of the Smashing Pumpkins. Never really have been. Never. So I'm sure they were probably better.
But that's not all. While she was playing for Prototype, Misa joined another band called Hurtist. This band was formed with 6 members who performed live several times before disbanding in October 2012. You can find 3 of their live videos on their YouTube channel. Misa and Akane also met in 2012 as they were going to the same school, the Tokyo Music School. They connected immediately as instrumentalists and worked together on several projects. The same year, they made an appearance as actors in an MV of the singer-actress Becky with the song Yoruka Switch. In 2015, Misa, along with Konami and Akane, were at the 5th anniversary party of the idol band Predia in Zepp Tokyo as a backing band. You do remember the link between Predia and Band-Maid, right? There was a band called Mochi to Cheese made by Akane, Konami, and 3 members from Predia. All right, we are in May 2013, Prototype announced that they will disband in July, and Band-Maid posted an audition announcement on May 29th. The next month, on June 5th, Misa announced on her old account linked to Prototype that she's going to an audition. Does this mean that Misa had the perfect timing to join Band-Maid? Let's see how she was recruited. In another interview, Misa confirmed that Akane tried to recruit her into Band-Maid right when Prototype announced their disbanding. But Akane didn't know about this information, so she was bold enough to invite Misa to join another band. And it paid off. Now, Misa has said that she was in izakaya when Akane called her, and she was
a hot commodity, baby. Like that's really all it was that, like, you know, she was high in demand. Like, they were like, we like this bassist, we want them.
pretty drunk, so she had to take at least a night to think about it. Misa listened to the demo and found that the songs were proper rock music and cool. She was actually afraid that this band would be an idol band. As she didn't want to stop playing bass, Misa quickly accepted the invitation to join Band-Maid the day after Akane talked to her. So in the end, Miku recruited Konami, who was found on Nico Nico. And then Konami recruited Akane just after the restaurant she was working at closed, and Akane recruited Misa just after her group disbanded. Wow. If that is not fate, I don't know what is. Now that Misa
Talk about like perfect timing and everything. You know what I mean? Like, when things are supposed to happen, that's why they happen. You know, we could give a million examples about, like, you know, how things could have went this way, that way, a little bit of this, and all of wouldn't have been the same. But like you said, like, you know, if that's not fate, I don't know what it is. Like, you know, that everything is supposed to happen the way I think they're supposed to happen. And despite what we do to try to change it, I think that's just kind of, it's supposed to always happen that way. You know what I mean? This was always supposed to be what was supposed to actually exist.
had joined Band-Maid, it's a new start for our favorite bassist. A new start, yes, but with one problem: the maid outfit. Misa was never into cosplay, so she wasn't used to wearing this kind of clothing. She felt really uncomfortable during the first live shows and with the first version of her outfit. It was also around this time when Misa thought about quitting Band-Maid. It was during the first or second one-man performance, and Misa was already working a lot in addition to her work for Band-Maid, so she was in really bad physical and mental condition. She felt that the music she liked was too far from the music she played with the band, and started to think about leaving and forming a band where she could play the kind of music she liked.
It is always interesting too, like when some bands, like when you listen and talk to them about like what their taste in music is, and it's like so far from what they play. Honestly, I think a lot of times that's typically what I expect. Is that the artists don't tend to listen to a lot of the music that they actually make. Like, they do, but not as much as like you would think. Like, it's not like their go-to. You know what I mean? Like, they will, but they normally are listening to like something that's completely the polar opposite is what they would run to. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like I hear that more than I ever do like, oh yeah, I listen to a lot of stuff of the similar sound of what I play.
She talked to the manager, who proposed that she take a good look at the view from the stage at the Masters and Princesses and decide after that. Thankfully, the reactions and responses from the crowd that day moved Misa deeply enough so she chose to stay with Band-Maid. She was sure that this band had great potential and could become way bigger. Time flies by, and we are at that moment where Konami is writing songs for the band. From world domination, but more in Conqueror and Unseen World, Misa actively participated in songwriting on her bass lines and has felt more freedom since then. Konami gives out notes from time to time depending on the song and what she has in mind.
Hold on. I don't think I've ever noticed this before, but what the hell?
Songwriting on her bass lines
Does she...
and has felt more freedom since then. Konami gives...
Look at that, bro. Look at the birds on her fret layer, Poe. Check that out. That is badass. Badass right there.
out notes from time to time depending on the song and what she has in mind. While writing music, Misa thinks more about what would serve the quality of the song rather than be sure that it's playable immediately. She had difficulties recording some songs of Unseen World because of that, but she managed to get them recorded in the end by spending more time on the hardest parts. And even if a song is really difficult for her, Misa will always practice enough so that she doesn't have to look at her hands while she's playing live. For example, the first part of No God was written by Konami, and she asked Misa to write the rest of the song. At this time, Misa was learning bass and drum programming, so she wrote those two parts, including her solo. It was a new experience for her, and she had to send new riffs to Konami every week for Unseen World. And although she obviously sent her demos to Konami, Misa used to send them to another member, Psyche. Misa sent her work to Psyche to confirm that her bass line was easy to sing with, and also because Psyche praises her a lot. And Misa loves to be praised by Psyche when she's working on a new song. As she wrote in an interview, "I just send them to her without saying anything in order to get praised by her. That's my source of energy. That makes me enjoy drinking better." What a great group.
That's like when you know that you have like real friends, man. It's like you don't have to say anything and you're just gonna like go off of like what their response is.
Of friends they are. There are two particularities regarding Misa when you see her perform on stage. The first one is that she never wears shoes when she's playing, with some exceptions on very hot days during outside performances, as the stage can get really hot. This is something she has done since the beginning of Band-Maid. You can see her wearing shoes in some MV, but most of the time, she likes to play barefoot. She answered a question from a fan in 2014 on Twitter saying that heels hurt her feet and are really hard to walk in, so she chose not to wear anything at all. Misa even ended up with the nickname the Barefoot Assassin.
Ah.
Why? Well, first of all, she plays barefoot. And during the Gold Rush interview, when the band was asked about the maid outfits, and particularly Misa's, which didn't look like a maid outfit, Miku answered that it's an assassin-made outfit. The second thing you'll notice about Misa is that she always has a bottle of whiskey on her amp while performing live. And she even drinks in the MV of Don't You Tell Me.
She's drinking, homegirl, I can't remember her name is. She's eating food.
You look closely at every performance, you can spot the bottle that she drinks during MCs. During the US tour in 2022, she even had her own opening ceremony where she opened a can of beer in front of her mic to make a loud sound, and the audience really loved that moment. Misa used to open a can of beer or drink whiskey during MCs for a long time, and she even shared a bit of her whiskey with a fan in 2019 during a concert in the New York Mercury Lounge. She is thought to be the one who drinks the most, but if you had a chance to listen to the Radio for Omesu-sama episode aired on August 1st, 2021, you would learn that they all actually drink a lot, except for Konami, who falls asleep before she gets a chance to drink. Despite her love for alcohol, Misa tweeted in May 2022 that she came to realize that it was too much for her and she decided to be more careful in the future. And now it's time to talk about Misa's playstyle. As usual, I'll let proper bassists present their thoughts to you on what they think about Misa. Gentlemen, if you please.
So what makes Misa a great bassist? First of all, she went to musical school, so she learned a lot about music theory. You can see that in her playing. She's constantly moving around the root note, adding or removing note at the end of her phrases, changing the tone by going all over the neck and not just staying at the low end. She masters all the playing style, finger style, slap, pick. She knows when to use them and always use the right one at the right moment. She can switch from one to another in a blink of an eye, like when she does her pick flip to switch from pick to slap. Her right hand work is so smooth and precise. It's mesmerizing. When it comes to her role in the band, she's a lead bassist. She can flawlessly jump from just playing the root note to taking the lead or providing an harmony to the vocals, and all of this in the same bar. There is no boundaries in her playing. That's what makes her so interesting and very inspiring to me. She's my favorite bassist, and I hope to hear her and Band-Maid for a lot more years.
When I think back about all of the bands that I've loved for many years, so many great bass players.
Like what they had for his thing was, I can't even remember what he said, but it was funny. It was funny. What did it say again? Oh man, something about like completely unfamous. Yeah, completely unfamous but longtime bassist maniac, P.D. Wilson. I want to know what you had to say, P.D.
About all of the bands that I've loved for many years, so many great bass players. But when I think of the bassists who really excited me, or more importantly, the ones whose parts I wanted to learn how to play, I think they all have kind of one thing in common. And that's the use of the bass, not just as a tonal and rhythmic foundation for a song or that kind of glue that holds a band together, but they use the instrument as another source of melody and melodicism and musicality. And I think there are far fewer of those kinds of bassists out there. So imagine my delight as a bassist discovering Band-Maid, where you have Misa, who's just constantly up and down the neck, playing what aren't super complicated parts, but making these really musical choices about, a note here versus a note here. She's in many ways a counterpart to Konami in that they're always expanding on a riff or adding new textures or new little motifs. They may play something fairly straight the first time, but after that, forget it. And it's not, again, like the parts are super complicated or technically difficult. They're just really smart, or for me, the big thing is that they're really musical.
How would I describe Misa's playing?
I would definitely say that I would, I don't want to say humbly disagree or whatever, because I don't want to say I disagree with the guy, but I would just say that I think that, like, I think that also depends on, he also is a longtime bassist. He said it himself. So, just because you can play really technical stuff doesn't mean it's not that technical. Like, he one of the things that I think that I've always appreciated about her and Misa was the fact that, like, she treated the bass like it was a guitar solo. I felt like all the time. You know what I mean? Like, he said it was up and down all the, it's a note playing up here versus a note playing up there. Yeah. And she's back and forth all the time. Like she's doing a guitar solo. It's absolutely insane. I think that, like, and that's what she reminds me of, is I feel like she is literally looking like she plays a different instrument than she's actually playing because of the way she plays it, which I would say is probably pretty technical. And, I'm not sure where he was getting with that, with how it wasn't very technical. He must just be a very skilled bassist.
Style. That's a tall order. What makes her special to me is her writing and her flawless ability to judge what to play and when to play it, without shying away from taking up space. She doesn't just serve the song, filling out the lower frequencies, locking up with the drums. She's actively creating a large portion of what makes the songs what they are. The groove, drive, momentum, anticipation, tension is like all her parts serve a purpose larger than just playing notes that work in the right tempo. She really adds another thick layer to the onion that is Band-Maid. One of my favorite habits of hers is when she's having a bit of a bass solo during the guitar solo, as can be heard in Manners and Reincarnation, for example. It's so backwards to the old tropes about backing down during a solo, but it's always so tastefully made and never distracting, rather the opposite. She also has this ability to tap into what the other instruments are doing and create her own parts from that, seamlessly switching between what instruments to follow. A prime example of that can be heard in the second verse of About Us, especially in the live version. She starts out by establishing the groove with the drums for the first 3 bars, and then a fill during the 4th bar, setting herself up for the next 4 bars, where she gradually starts playing off the vocals. The first 2 bars by matching the vocal phrases subdivided by 16th notes, and for the second 2 bars, now the transition is complete, and now she just plays a lower harmony to the vocals. After that, she immediately switches to locking up rhythmically to Kanami's octave climb for 1 bar, and then, for the last bar, she rounds everything off with a little fill of 16th notes, almost like a drum fill. All that during 10 bars. Her playing and writing is a big reason why I keep coming back to their music over and over again.
I feel like he basically just kind of proved my point of like what I was just talking about with the last guy. The last guy was like, it's not that technical. And then this guy just got done explaining how technical it is. If I'm gonna be honest, I think he was lulling me a little bit to sleep on the details, because I'm not the guy who cares about that you played 18th notes when you should have played 16th notes, and I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. So I think that what I take away from it is what I see and what I can hear, and not everybody is a bassist or a musician, and the average fan isn't going to have that kind of appreciation for it. So I would imagine for like the purist out there, which I'm definitely not a purist. If you've ever heard me talk about that, really at all in general, I'm not for the idea of a purist. But this guy kind of sounds like one, right? Like, you know, some people can't help it, and it's just because like they're so involved with a specific aspect of like how they look at music. So I do find it interesting, but like I'm really not trying to like tear this guy down at all, because he's just talking about things I'm not that interested in. Does that make sense? Because I'm like, you know, but I feel like what he did do was more or less like prove my point in the technicality aspect of like, he just got done explaining how damn technical it really is.
Thank you very much for taking the time to share your experience and knowledge and your feelings regarding Misa's playstyle. I wonder what you, the viewer, what do you think of Misa as a bassist? I'm very interested to know what's on your mind. Let's move to the end of our journey. Misa learned to play a lot of instruments, and even though she knew which ones she wanted to learn,
look at her hands right now.
She ended up playing the one instrument she never even thought about. From the moment she picked up a bass,
the thing for me is when you can't tell the difference between what the bass groove is and what the overall like riff that's being played is, because they're both happening at the same time and going on 2 different journeys. That is when it's something special. That is why she stands out as a bassist. It's because you can't even fucking tell, bro. You can't even tell it's a bass in there. You have to like really look and be the technical guy to be like, oh no, the bass has an 1/8 of the 15th of a frequency range but you can just tell, and it's clearly there. It's clearly there, and I don't know how people can't just clearly see it's the bass. You know, but when you look at them, they're both doing the same thing. They're both up and down. They don't know how many they don't know how many strings there are. She all over the place, man. Misa's the best, bro. Misa's the best. Fuck what anybody else says. She's the best. She is the best. Technical, not technical, whatever the hell you want to say, yo. She's the best to do it. Drinking whiskey and shit. She's the coolest person who ever had bangs in the world. I swear to God.
Misa never stopped playing it. She loves bass so much that she even switched courses to become a professional bassist. and live from her passion. In the end, Misa ended up with Band-Maid thanks to the boldest move and the perfect timing. And Band-Maid is a band where everyone shines. Everyone has a moment in every song. We're used to seeing guitarists and drummers being highlighted, but bassists? That's not very common. How many bands that you listen to allow their bassists to really shine? I'm talking about bands with 2 guitars or a guitar and a piano. I'm sure you can find some examples, but since its creation, Band-Maid has always found a way to allow Misa to find her spotlight. From thrill to influencer. Dice. Or even manners. During live performances,
Bro, there's like so many songs of them I don't know. I'm like, they're playing a lot in the background of these documentaries, and I'm like, some of them are familiar, but there's like so many of them. Like, I don't think I know any of those songs. I was like, they got music videos. They all look sick. They also sound sick.
is introducing a song or to go
That's really what they should do a lot more of, honestly, because when you don't like, that is what bands in general should do, and not just Band-Maid. Just bands in general should do this. They should have the bassist do stuff like this between sets. Open a song, start the song off, get the drums going, get the bassist doing a la da 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 da. You know, let them do whatever the hell they want to do. Introduce the song, man. It makes it fun.
go crazy on a duel with Konami.
Yo. We had to stop again. What did he just call it?
On a duel with Konami.
A duel with Konami. I'm pretty sure you guys got on me once way back when I called it like a guitar duel or, you know, a battle, I think is what the word I said. Y'all told me it was called a conversation. Why did he call it a duel, huh? Why is he calling it a duel on the official documentary?
Though Misa's personality is mostly introverted, when she is on stage playing bass, she seems finally free and is having the time of her life. She even learned programming and participated actively in the songwriting process. Since she joined Band-Maid, Misa followed her passion to become a professional bassist and surrounded herself with the best group of friends who have become very close to what we can call a family.
Okay, I think that was the end of that. Another great documentary. I can see why they had this one like in the order that they have it. It kind of makes more sense now when it terms of like kind of how everything ties together, why they saved to like have her specific story the way that they kind of told it throughout this documentary series. So that does make sense. I was kind of wondering like what in terms of the like, you know, how are we going to go about the group, because we kind of went about it in a random way, but it's all kind of making sense as I go through each one of them as to why we went and chose to go the way that the route that we did. Does that make sense? So like I said, Misa, I think has like one of like my favorite, obviously, games when it comes to the bass game, right? So she is a step above and like, you know, a trendsetter of like what it means to be, I think, a modern day bassist for sure. So I think that the bass community, that's definitely a community. Whether you consider yourself to be a part of it or not, you bass lovers out there, you guys are your own community, and I think you know it. I think you know it, but you are. You definitely are. Because you know, every time that somebody like myself decides or inadvertently decides to maybe like not touch on the bass situation, people let me know. People let me know. That is a bass community, and you're pretty consistent amongst the bassists. That there's always somebody out there pointing out, like, hey, no love for the bassists out there? Yes, I totally, she's one of the best. And I can't think of somebody better off the top of my head right now, to be honest with you, of who plays, I think, more technical and better bass than she does. That, like I said, off the top of my head right now. I'm sure there's probably some legends that somebody would scream at me about that for not mentioning right now, but that's okay. Again, got a headache today, guys. So, you know, I'm at the absolute top of my game today, but that's okay. I really enjoyed this documentary. Enjoyed hanging out with you guys again today. Bob, I wanted to make sure I told you that I did not forget about you, Poe. I got you, man. I got you on the reaction. I just, like I said, I had a headache today, and I didn't think I could give you. I didn't want to phone it in, man. I didn't want to phone it in. I hate to give you guys bad reactions. I really try to do my best to try to be at least in the overall proper headspace and mindset going into it. I don't want to go into it not feeling good and just give you like I got a headache reaction today. So, but I think I did pretty good through this one. Like we still had some talking points. I didn't have to headbang and get too much into the music. So that was probably what I was trying to do in terms of looking at this video today. I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I will leave the links to all the Discord, the Patreon, all those things in the description. Please sign up for those and join those things. At least the free Patreon for sure. I hang out in the Discord and the Patreon quite a bit, so it's where I take the majority of my reactions outside of the ones that I get the donations for. So if you're looking to get some requests in, be sure to sign up for those things, and I will make sure that I give you a free one, at least for signing up for the Patreon. So you at least get that. So leave all that in the description. If you have not joined the Foxtrot family, there is always room for you. Until next time, I appreciate you for watching.